SFJ 4x4 Studios presents
in my oversized four-wheel drive Jeep.
a Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure monosity. What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown,
Use my drill press as a sort of lathe.
our host Neil Simpson,
If one light goes out, they all go out.
filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. This is the I Speak Jeep podcast presented by SFJ4x4.com.
And he's sure of that, but his microphone is annoying him.
My name is Neil with Simpson Family Jeeps SFJ 4x4. And I am joined in Grandma's Couch Studio by the mad scientist.
Yep.
Yeah, we are Sans, the producer, the Italian Stallion. He is still off living his best life, attempting the hospitality industry. I still don't know that he's fully revealed to the world his pursuits. That's not my place to do it for him.
We do know it's getting closer to when they're hoping to open. So
I mean, I had confirmation with him as of last week, and they are still set for this March 7th date. Oh, no, looks like it did go at least maybe live on Jet TV, Fox, Your Erie. So maybe the cat's reasonably out of the bag. At Jeff and Company and Family are opening a... I'm still not going to say it. It's not my place.
Absolutely.
You're going to have to go find that yourself. Go find his social. But regardless, I feel like I was doing a pretty swell job on the production level over here.
Computer-wise, you were awesome.
And we were ready to go. And I'm not certain because
and then the microphone stand was like...
I cannot figure out how to adjust this microphone.
There's way too many arms.
And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to shift over on the couch. So... I will just move my body.
Yep.
Oh, goodness gracious. We have a lot of comments coming in, and we'll make sure we say good morning to everyone in the process. I did have, this is not to encourage a single soul in the process, but I did have a text message come in claiming to be, I was communicating with some folks. The Angry Turtle claimed to be first to say good morning because he texted me first comment. I said, I don't think that's how this works.
That's not how that works.
No, so you may not... Don't get into my DMs and tell me first comment. But he kind of wanted that notoriety. With that said, actual first is going to be Billy Joe. Giaga Jeeper said good morning. Nathan, big old good morning there. Giaga Jeeper saying good back. Rob says good morning. Everybody saying good morning. Jeannie's in there. Bradford, what a great Monday morning. Andrew, good morning. So good morning, good morning, good morning. Joe O'Brien, not in the comments this morning. We're not sure where he's at. He did send me a link. Now, as a nerd, I'm gonna divulge to folks. It's really hard to look at Scott and also like keep my mouth at the mic.
The microphone's really kicking your butt today.
It's you know what the funny thing is? I feel like it's worse than it was last week, and I don't know what or how.
I think the long arm needs to go towards the wall.
I'm just going to go this way, which is 100% not how that was supposed to work.
Now
I feel
it's
better.
in front of your face.
I got a face for radio. That's okay. So it is super in front of my face.
There you go. Okay, now bend the small thing towards me. That's better.
It's still in front of my face. It's whatever. Here we go. So I'm nerding out. The big boy locomotive.
Mm-hmm.
Has been there's rumor mill that it's going to make an east-west run, and they have recently petitioned Norfolk Southern as part of the rail system to utilize its trip to the East Coast. And right now there is a west-east route that they have asked permission to run with in-cab signals on the Norfolk Southern line, which would run from Cleveland to Harrisburg. There are two routes that run that line. One of them runs immediately next to our shop.
Yep.
I want that so bad. I don't know that there's any, train nerds or anybody who's at that executive level making those decisions.
Yeah.
But if
we
there
vote
is,
for the one by the shop.
we vote for the one by the shop. There is a southern route that runs Ohio, Cleveland to, runs down through Pittsburgh, Harrisburg area.
And
Please come by the shop. I'm gonna have Jeeps. I'll stage Jeeps. We'll have a cookout. I don't know. We'll do something.
Yeah, we're very blessed to be in the area where these things happen pretty often. Honestly, I remember as a child going to, and we're talking like the railroad that was just down the block from my house, kind of thing. And there was a big passenger coach train.
Sure.
Same thing. I think it was a steam locomotive pulling that, and we all went to the siding and just watched it go by, and that was
Unquestionably. And that's and we've had those experiences here, but this is an engineering marvel, right?
yeah.
This is a massive steam locomotive, and I so desperately want it to run next to the shop. And if it does, I invite all of our listeners, bring our Jeeps out, we'll stage them, and we'll capture some iconic picture as this massive steam engine runs past SFJ 4x4.
definitely needs a shirt if it happens.
Oh my God, yes. I will try to keep the double entendres to a minimum in the process. But anywho, today, related, not related, we are continuing the conversation of heaters. We had talked about it several weeks ago.
Yep.
We said we would bring it back up. And I think this is a great opportunity to do so because the weather did kind of dip and go a little crazy. There's some Arctic wind pushing into the actual Midwest.
It was very cold this morning. I was not ready.
I was not ready. And I feel like, I'm okay. Like if we get subarctic temperatures and it stays that way, I'm good.
I don't like
But
the back and forth stuff.
The back and forth, because then when you actually get like a regular cold day, now I'm a huge Nancy and I'm like, well, I'm so cold, but otherwise, also I stopped doing as many layers because now I'm like willing spring and warm weather to come into my life.
Absolutely.
Trying to get the universe to be responsive to me. But regardless, we are going to be, talking about our heaters, and we're moving into the modern times.
Yep.
Right. And we had done a pretty good job of contextualizing the poor heat experience that was the automotive industry prior to the advent of the JK.
Yep.
And now we're moving forward into the JLJT series and potentially beyond as we talk. Also this weekend, I think it's just appropriate to say we had the what used to be the Dayton Off-Road Expo. It has a new fancy name, Midwest something off-road. I don't know. If you attended, let us know in the comments how it was. I did get some pictures from folks. It was a show that we used to regularly attend with a matter of importance. It's a really neat event. Helps break the winter blah.
Yep.
And it's just north of Cincinnati there, west of Columbus. Honestly, the only reason we don't attend anymore is because we're so busy here with the physical pursuits of
and this week,
SFJ4x4.
what we have going on this year would have just been like crippling to try to do it. So
correct with personnel challenges and whatnot. So who's a what's it conversation regarding heaters. We talked about kind of ambient air. We talked about the advent of accessory heaters, bringing that hot coolant into the cab for us. Yep. Obviously, we don't employ having little potbelly stoves or actual wood burners. We've all seen the YouTube videos. We all know how prolific Vivor's diesel heaters are. This is not that podcast.
No.
Though I'm here for it. I'm okay to.
That's just because you drive old junkers that the
I
heat
know
doesn't work.
I know. I would love to put like a little diesel burner in old blues. Crummy little cap. That metal hardtop. That would be kind of cool.
You get asphyxiated while you drive.
No, it's all clean heat at that point. It's exhausts out the sides.
Grr.
Stop it. So we had left it before. We had kind of laid out the conversation about the new and improved, the manner in which the heater boxes continued to improve. Heater controls, HVAC switches. That is when not to say TJ heater controls did have a tendency electrically to burn down on us.
Yes.
XJs and TJs all had resistor issues. Yep. Which is a very common challenge when the blower fan speed only works on high. That was a good problem in the sense that it defaulted to high.
And it was very common for the switch itself to melt down because of high amp draw, which I've seen tons of people, they replace the plug, they replace the switch, and a couple years later it does it again and they get frustrated, change the blower motor as what's drawing the amps.
Yep. Yeah, it's a multifaceted approach to making the TJ sustainable, right? Yep. We had a problem. We did have problems with the resistors previously. We did have, switch problems, but progressively our HVAC controls have gotten better over the years.
Yep.
So the crowning jewel of iconic Jeep history, and I'm sorry, vintage Jeepers, you will throw up in your mouth, but the Jeep that broke the mold, the JK Wrangler, comes around in 2007.
Yep.
Now, I think that it's valuable to talk a little bit about the heater core. We did already outline that in the previous one, but the heater core is basically a mini radiator that exists in the dash. It's securely snuggled up in the center of your dash in the TJ. It's got a really crappy design. Yep, in the JK. In the TJ, it's a little bit over to the passenger side.
Correct.
In the JK, it's securely snuggled just below your head unit, basically. That crappy Uconnect system that's no longer working efficiently.
Yep.
But anyways, it's a crummy design based on how coolant flows in and out of it and all the bends that you've got going to it and everything.
So the biggest challenges of the JK heater core is the fact you cannot install it nor remove it without moving the pipes that attach to the core. So they allowed it to swivel, which was a new concept on Jeeps anyway. So they have an O-ring seal, and before that you just had pipes soldered or attached somehow to a core, and they just kind of didn't move. Now in order to remove it or install it, you have to move them, which is I always
fascinating because we have a pressurized, it's not the most pressurized system, but it's a pressurized hot end cooling. So we have thermodynamic properties.
Yep.
And they have to swivel. And so you have a crimp fitting off of this like S-curve tubing.
Yep.
And there's a crimp fitting with an O-ring in there.
Yep.
And that fitting has to be just right. Otherwise it's going to leak there.
Yep.
And the O-ring has to be good, otherwise it's going to leak there.
Yep.
And then we still have this very narrow body of the heater core itself.
It's a very tight core, exceedingly small. Because of that, it gets plugged easily. And then to add another layer to it, the doors above the core. And we're talking, again, we alluded to it last time, that we have not ever had temperatures as hot as we have had in the JK line. A 3.6 JK 225 or so is pretty normal. It's what you kind of want it to be because we want the efficiency from that. But because of that, the core gets really hot.
Yes.
So we're actually seeing the rubber on the doors melt. Lack of better description. And because of that, doors get sticky. They look like a hot mess. And in true mothership, brilliance, you can't change just a door anymore. You throw the whole thing away and you get a new one. Now, thankfully, it is just the center mass of the box that kind of holds the sandwich of the heater core. But
yeah, it's a cumbersome design, and I kind of want to loosely expand upon what Scott is mentioning. So we have the center stack, the HVAC center stack section. It's not exactly melting because of the heat. I think there is some.
I don't think the hot temperature is helping it.
Correct. I think that's helping it break down. That there is actually a release of there's a breakdown in the plastic itself in some way, shape, or form. The foam, as far as the residue that's left behind, because that's what we're seeing is this really sticky gooiness, and the recirculation doors or the diverter doors. It is a blend door, and there's a series of actuators, right? We don't have this overly simplistic swinging singular door anymore. We have a series of doors.
And back in the day, at one point, it was just like this open cell foam of sorts that would kind of move around. Now we have more of a high density foam. It kind of reminds you more of a weather stripping.
Yes.
And it is not holding up on a higher mileage vehicle. It could be the smooth going in from the vents.
Right.
It could be the heat. It could be the product breaking down. It could be all of the above.
Sure. And I think that's kind of like in hindsight, what we've learned about the TJ Wrangler switch meltdown.
Yep.
Yes, we may have a resistor issue. Yes, we might have had a wiring pigtail issue.
Yep.
Yes, we might actually have a blower motor. We may have a multitude of issues.
All could be true.
All could be true, or multiples of that could be true. And so you may end up having to do all 3 or 4 items at once.
Yeah.
Whereas...
especially if you've ignored it for a while.
Exactly, especially if you've ignored it. And I think that's one of the bigger issues is that people who have, some heat issues. Now, I want to break down JK heat as we progress forward into kind of 2 categories or breakdown categories. One is going to be that you actually have a background code regarding the HVAC system and door actuation. So that you actually get a code and it'll say that actuator B out of range or actuator A high circuit or something to that effect, right? Or
it's also important to note that for the first time ever in the JK platform, we had auto climate control and manual climate control
in the Wrangler platform. We had, as always, like the theme of this podcast, Grand Cherokees had done this previously
and had breaking
and were
stuff.
terrible. They were absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
As far as how the auto climate control worked, but of course the JKs were the first time we saw it in a Wrangler, right? The doorless topless platforms, the doorless topless lineage. And so we have this background code, and we might have an odd heat, not necessarily temperature, but maybe to the hands, the blowing, right? How much volume, how much CFM is coming out certain vents at certain times. Maybe if it takes really long for you to get some air coming out of that person facing or that torso facing vents, that might be an indicator of something. Or if you don't hear kind of an affirmative action at the defroster duct, or you only have defrost and you don't get torso or feet.
And
right?
at the same time of this all happening, you can have the cold driver's side vent and hotter passenger side vent.
And that's actually unrelated.
It's unrelated, but it can also be occurring at the same time.
It can be. And this is the issue, is that people are unfamiliar. And I always talk with customer-facing conversations. I talk about the ripple effect of information. The average consumer, the average auto enthusiast, in my opinion, is living within a 10 to 20-year ripple effect of information distribution, regardless of the information age and the tech age that we live in, right? We still, the way that humans process information, we rely on that immediate group of people around us, right? My buddy who's a Jeep guy, my uncle who's been a mechanic, before, whatever that social circle is, and their understanding of the world, right?
Yep.
And so all too often we get people who are bringing information from the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s and trying to apply it to the JK and JL
Absolutely.
platforms.
perfect example again is the heat or the temperature of the coolant. And you're like, oh, that's too hot. No, that's what it's designed to do. And we can actually get a code for the JK where we have basically the cooling system is working too efficiently. And most of the time that cause and effect of that is you don't have any heat. And it's literally mean that it's cooling it too well. Thermostat is getting sticky, is not working quite right to maintain the temperature that the OE wants to see. And enough times of that happening, it will set a check engine light.
Correct. And so hopefully, and that is always our objective with infotainment podcasts like this, is to try to distribute information that even if you just glean onto like one little piece of what we say, the goal is to kind of peel back the curtain and allow people into a look at modern technology and expectation. Now, the puke-inducing moment is the fact that honestly, 20 years ago, it's really not that long ago. And if you look at 2007, when the JK started,
Trying to hurt me.
and then 2017 is a decade, and it is 2026.
Yeah.
So in theory, and I talk about our 10, 15, 20-year ripple effect of information, and actually, the more we have access to these supercomputers in our pocket, the dumber we get. So that actually, I might have to start saying we live in a 20, 30-year ripple effect, because there's still people trying to apply 80s, 90s, early 2000 tech expectations, knowledge, and information to a 20-year-old vehicle. Now, back to the center stack conversation. This gobbledygook, big old unit costs about $600, $450 to $600. I don't know.
And real quick, again, I said this last time, but I will say it again. The other big difference between a TJ and a JK heater system is the JK, the heater box and pedals and accelerator pedal and all that are all in one module. And you have to remove the whole thing.
The whole kit and caboodle.
You got to discharge the AC. You got to remove the upper intake manifold on both 3.8 and 3.6 Jeeps to access the connections behind them, because everything is in the center of the vehicle.
Correct. It is all jigsawed, puzzled together.
On the 3.6, you have to remove the battery tray and all that, because there's harnesses that go uninterrupted from the dash harness through the firewall and to the TIPM or PDC. It is a job and
highly laborious.
And we've learned from trying not to damage people's stuff. You're pulling both front seats, you're pulling the center console, you're pulling a crap ton of trim. If it is lucky enough to have the right Uconnect sort of thing, you have to go all the way to the passenger side, basically roof panel, popping trim off to get to one single wire that they didn't put a connector in for God knows why.
Wild.
It sucks.
It was
so
totally
bad.
an afterthought.
Yep. And if you were blessed with a crappy, because all these, like he's saying, all these parts are expensive, and you cheap out on the heater core, and you bend the pipes to, or twist the pipes to get them into there because you have no choice, and then it leaks on you, you get to do it again. It's awesome.
And as a side note, if you're an individual who likes your beats, you like your sound system, if you took it to a 12-volt shop, and I'm going to just absolutely, there is not a 12-volt stereo installation business that I can recommend to anybody to work on a Jeep vehicle. The 12-volt industry does not know how to work on Jeeps.
We don't think we're special, but more and more and more we
The
get.
heck was that?
I don't know. I'm struggling with all kinds of stuff.
Like a little gremlin coming out of you.
Want it out.
Okay.
I'm getting so impassioned over here.
Right.
We think about how to take something apart later after we've done a modification. 12-volt shops don't do that.
They don't care.
They're like, hey, this speaker wire that we're going to install is better. Not arguing with you. It is.
Sure.
But then we're going to macrame and weave it like
Macrame.
like your grandma's crocheting through the dash structure
Yes.
so that you have no choice but to cut it
Yes.
or to completely remove it.
Yes.
And the last thing somebody wants to hear after they spent, I don't know,
Thousands of dollars.
to $1,000 putting the stereo system in, that we now have to remove that
Yes.
and charge you to reinstall it and uninstall it to do your heater cord that is already going to touch you.
Yes.
And then the best part is you get it all apart and you get it on the bench and you now have separated the dash. You're trying to have the dash not like fall over because it's this big ungainly thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get some ductwork off and you go, oh, it's melted.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. That's $600.
Yes, because you don't know that those diverter doors are melted or gooey,
Whatever they are.
whatever they are, and they are susceptible to damage. And they actually, one of the things that we have access to is knowledge from the mothership on their original equipment parts that are sold weekly in domestic markets.
Yeah.
Now it's a mouthful, but what it means is that we know how many parts that dealerships are consuming for projects on certain Jeeps.
How often they get it apart and go, ooh,
Yep.
we need that.
Yep. And so we know that certain parts are in demand in one way or shape or another, and we know that this center stack is one of them. Arguably not exactly an if, but a when
Yep.
in a JK ownership. Now, there doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason because there's certainly a handful of 12 to 15s that we've encountered with the center stack issue. Several of them have had animal intrusion.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be
They love the nibble on whatever.
they love to nibble on it.
Yeah.
Whatever that compound is.
Yes.
Also, I think there is something to be said about the animal waste products deteriorating that foam
Absolutely.
and plastic components
And
faster.
I'm going to be controversial here for 2 seconds. Thankfully, you can just buy the center stack and you can reuse half the box.
Yes.
If you are one of those people like the mad scientist and you get a JK and you're excited and you realize I can put a filter above my blower motor and have a cabin filter.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can. Problem is they only half designed it to be that way.
Sure.
And so you get your package that you've waited for. And if you really like me, you go and you get like the K&N washable ones. You go all in.
Yes.
And you get these two like tiny square or rectangles. And you're like, what is this? And that's because you have to put one in and slide it over and then put the other one beside it. And if you're not careful, as we've also found, if that filter comes dislodged and goes one way or the other, it can break.
One way or the other.
Yeah.
You're going to break your blower motor.
Blower motor or the recirc door.
The recirc door.
And while you would think, oh, I'll just get a new recirc door.
Nope.
Mothership
Sure
says,
don't.
nope, do not pass go. Do not collect $200. We will just sell you the entire heater assembly.
Yep. There is not an alternative available on the market whatsoever right here and now.
And if you're lucky like we were, you already have the center stack sitting there. You have a heater core sitting there. You have a condenser, or not condenser, evaporator sitting there because you're planning on doing all that. Well, guess what? When you buy the assembly from Chrysler, it's assembled.
Yep.
It comes with all of it.
Yep.
So,
And that's a pretty penny. And jumping into the comments, Jerry, decorated Jeep owner, there are no shortcuts for the JK heater core replacement. All risk, no reward.
yes.
And that sums up exactly what you're
100%.
saying right now. And it's just such a massive, unfortunate, blooming onion in the process. Now, I do think we have put the cart before the horse in just a minor amount, because we need to come back with the most common issue of the not an if but a when is this temperature discrepancy between driver and passenger side.
I mean, I sort of talked about it.
You did. But I progressively, I would like to build upon that conversation because I think that's one of the things that affects the bell curve of JK owners.
Yes, and I'm my weird analogies, so be prepared.
Oh God.
So if you ever go down to the stream to the fish or whatever you want to do, or just look into nature, and you look at how the bris that's in the water goes through channels and stuff, and how it drops out.
Very debrissy.
Because water will slow down, so therefore things that are carried in the water will just fall out. That's basically in a nutshell why your driver's side heat is not hot and your passenger side is, because that pipe comes in, and where that air is going to be coming from is going to go to the driver's side. All the sand, goo from not changing your coolant when you're supposed to, it does go bad, people. All that kind of stuff. Your mechanic noticing your coolant is low, so he just dumps whatever the heck he has in there.
Yep.
So it starts to gel. Or all of the above starts blocking up the heater core in that specific location. So therefore, that part of the core gets cold. Now, the water is going to find its way through.
Path of least resistance.
It's going to go past the little blockage, and it's going to go down, and it's going to go through the core. And it's going to make awesome heat for the passenger side.
Right.
Which I think is just restitution for like my XJ freezing my wife out and all that kind of stuff.
Isn't that true?
It's really is. It's just Jeep was like, okay, fine. We're going to take care of the passenger side in this situation.
Not true at all, folks. Not true. not even remotely. But I think it was just totally an engineering oversight. But I can play with it. I can play with it as well.
But and again, because the core size is so exceedingly small, it doesn't take anything to get the cholesterol stuck in there.
And I think that's it, is that it's exceedingly small but efficient when it's functioning correctly, right?
Yeah.
That is where it's been engineered well. You're giggling at Nathan saying, wait, you guys change your fluids?
Yeah.
But they do have a shelf life, folks. They do. And so that is a testament to good engineering, is that it is efficient when it's functioning appropriately. But one of my big criticisms is that automotive concepts that are only good the moment that they're assembled on the assembly line in like the first 3 to 5 years.
Yes.
Once that 3 to 5 years kind of goes, then it's the Wild West.
Absolutely.
Right? And this is one of those components that it's great in theory, assembly, the first few years of production. Once it's out of manufacturer warranty, the gloves are off, and at the aftermarket, we're picking up the pieces.
Yep.
So the big challenge I have is that if you don't have awesome heat at the driver's side and there's awesome to sweltering heat on the passenger side,
you should run out and get a coolant flush kit.
Nope. Sure don't.
Yeah.
You should not do your thermostat. I encountered entirely too many people living in that ripple effect of 30-year-old automotive understanding.
Unless you have the thermostat code, you're not doing yourself any favors.
But even if you have the thermostat code, if you have a significant discrepancy between vent to vent, the heater core is plugged. Yeah. So it kind of doesn't matter. It's irrelevant that you're doing the thermostat at that time, because it means you're just opening up the system, exposing yourself to greater risk of air pocket and an air intrusion in the process.
And we will also go out and say that JK36 equipped vehicles are a sticky wicket when it comes to bleeding air out of the cooling system. It rivals like 90s Corvettes and 2000 F bodies almost, where you just it's either going to go swimmingly and it's going to be, oh, that was nice, or you're going to be there for hours
trying to burp the air out of the system.
And it geysers at you because you're dealing with a superheated air pocket. And guess what? The heater core is pretty much the highest point, so you also end up with no heat. That's one of the biggest red flags. So It's a big challenge. Thankfully, they did better in the jail.
Yes.
We found, but man, we cringe, and we've literally had people come in that have done their own services, and the only thing they couldn't do was bleed the system,
Yes.
and we have to do 4 hours or so of labor to just deal with the geysering and the bleeding,
And that's specifically because they have unintendedly created more problem. Now, if you're doing the bleed with part of the service and you do it efficiently at that time, so there's actually like a funnel system with a little
and you can airlift it, basically taking a system into a vacuum and then sucking the coolant into it. Other nice thing about doing it that way is now we know if we have leaks, like our stupid tubes on our heater core
right.
didn't seal.
But and ask us how we know. And honestly, you know, that way is advantageous when it's as part of a service. When we're entering ourselves in at a later date, there's a good chance that you have unfortunately introduced a massive air pocket into kind of a deep crevice of the cooling system, and or parts have become compromised in the process. If you have a fail-safe thermostat, it may have failed, and now is just wide open, and so you're not going to get heat out of it necessarily.
No matter what you do.
It's again that efficiency of the cooling system. It's not going to come up to temperature like we
really,
anticipate it to.
I think it's kind of a go, no go list of things. Like in my own personal mechanical opinion, I would not put a fail-safe style thermostat in a JK. I would not put a cabin filter setup in my JK. If it had it in it when you bought it, it was kind of like a dealer's choice. I would remove it for that little tiny bit of cleanliness. You are the risk of spending $1,000 plus a lot of work is very high. I would not do that.
Yeah, and I don't know that I totally agree. I don't. It's one of those things where
Just look at risk the
risk and reward, right?
Yeah.
When we go to risk and reward, that's in your, you know, the dealer's choice, in your discretion as the vehicle owner. I'm not going to make it a priority to run a cabin filter.
Yeah.
I haven't. I love vintage pieces of crap. They never had them.
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of dig my heels in and be like, well, I'm going to die like a man and it's going to be fine.
Yes.
Now, in an engineered purpose like our JLs and JTs,
Yes.
hey, I'm going to run it because
it was designed to be there.
designed. It was good, and my risk to reward is much more nominal.
The JK really was, hey, all of our other models have a cabin filter, and our consumers are starting to ask questions why they aren't.
Yes.
And they said, well, we can kind of force it into existence and make it work retrofittingly.
We're making up words left and right, folks.
It's not a good thing. It's not good. Where the JL from the get was designed to have it, it cannot go exit stage left or right. Much better design. It's not in two pieces.
The access for the cabin filter and the HVAC behind the glove box door is more efficient.
Yes, there's an actual door for it.
Yeah, it's not as cumbersome.
I mean, really, if you ever have gone to put a cabin filter in a JK, you feel like you shouldn't be doing what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Like it feels wrong just doing it.
You are forcing a square peg into a round hole.
Really are. It is like Apollo 13 all over again, and you have duct tape and the wrong size filter.
When it comes to, I mean, in general, as we do talk about cabin air filters as part of our HVAC, I do think it's valuable to say that we have absolutely seen the effectiveness of cabin air filters.
Yes, and it is the most ignored filter going. And that honestly is another nail in the coffin, in my opinion, for the JK. Well, yes, it works. When you forget about it and it gets so loaded with debris, now it's going to break something.
Right.
And if you have a JLJT and you haven't checked your cabin filter in a minute,
Now's the time.
Now's the time. Go do it because and probably just buy one because it's dirty.
And you know, I do think that there's a lot of value, especially if you are in a high, micronized particulate environment. So you spend a lot of time around dirt roads. You're out west with the red rock dust. We have seen filter saturation because of these things, right?
If you're using your Jeep as a Jeep.
Well, a little bit, yeah, and I think that that's where there is a benefit to these filters for your own health and the longevity of the components, the ducting, the diverter doors, because that's one of the things that the filter is benefiting you as the owner.
Yeah.
It's limiting that grime buildup on the blend doors and by default the actuators and their mechanisms/functions. And that's one of the things we didn't exactly talk about, but I think is worth mentioning is that there are multiple actuators on these systems. The actuators are a smaller than a teacup saucer plate, little motor, basically, electronically activated by...
They're actually cool little feats of engineering because they got basically a little tiny motor, and I remember as a kid tearing things apart and saving those motors. And they don't have a lot of horsepowers.
Nope, they use gear reduction.
They have all the gears and all the different gearing to make it work. Can be a part of their failure because you'll have a gear strip out or crack because they are all plastic. Again, why are they plastic? Because we don't want to hear like big metal chunks moving around in the dash. You just want it to be quiet and move around.
And produced efficiently and affordably, right? There's things about that.
Yep.
And and as far as these actuators are concerned, they are controlled by the BCM, the body control module. A lot of people want to talk about or maybe understand the different electronic or computer controls of their vehicle. So they're controlled by the BCM,
and they have the propensity to go in. They are always looking at the current of them. I wish they would have done that on blower motors a long time ago because throwing a light and said, "Hey, your heater core,
your blower motor's actually bad." But
anyway, they don't. So if your SMU is getting real sticky, icky, and it doesn't allow the door to move uninhibited, you're probably going to have some problem with the motors.
Yes, and it might have an increased current draw. It may have a range efficiency code, meaning it doesn't open when it's supposed to. It doesn't open all the way. It's not able to shut all the way. Basically, think of the function of those units with I like to think of it as kind of a gauge or a dial graph 0 to 100. And that unit needs to travel from 0 to 100 based on the electronic request or command as the driver.
And I'll let a little industry secret out there. Most of the time when I go to change a center stack because the doors are just gooey beyond belief, most of the actuators have been changed prior to the service by other people because you can sit on your head and contort yourself and you can change the actuator. It's not easy, but you can. But you're not thinking about why did it fail. Same kind of idea with the TJ. Why did the switch melt down? There's a cause and effect. You're just treating the cause. You're not actually getting the root of the problem.
And professionally, there is a hard argument to say that we would, if you haven't changed the actuator, I think it's fair if you go to your corner garage and they want to start with the actuator. I do employ the KISS method, keep it simple, silly, and kind of do the affordable things first. I can get behind that because I don't want to quote an individual the OE dealership price of the entirety of their heater core, center stack, and blower motor diverter.
Yes.
You know, I don't want to do that, right?
Because that's again, the cause and effect of that is most of the time with these jobs, it's going to be very labor intensive, and you're going to be without your vehicle for a while because sadly we have to have it apart to see what's damaged to then appropriately order parts in. We're really subject to the
supply chain logistics and availability
of that. We're dealing with parts that are not made aftermarket, kind of thankfully, because it wouldn't fit.
And then you get it all back together and you'd really be angry.
Oh, I was so angry. I'm kind of having a trauma trigger almost over here.
Well, we did this. I need people to know we did this in a JK, and we had an aftermarket part leak on us within a almost no time frame. That was very, very disheartening.
Yeah. Be counseling over it.
So the thing with that said, with aftermarket versus OE, the actuators, I got to tell you, there is a voltage sensitivity that has yet to be appropriately replicated by foreign import products. So while an actuator, there's a large discrepancy. OE actuators are $150 to $200, and an Amazon actuator is $25 to $45.
Yep.
And you will hear chatter on the social pages about get these ones versus these ones on Amazon because they do or don't jive up well. And as I've mentioned before, aftermarket parts, especially those bought on Amazons, are the old Xerox model. They are a copy of a copy of a copy that a factory in a foreign market has reverse engineered. And while there are good overseas manufacturing options and engineers, oftentimes there are also bad ones because there's just such a volume, a populace of people, individuals, and infrastructure elsewhere that they get a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. And by the time that you're buying the affordable actuator, oil cooler, sensor, or whatever, it's
dormant,
super far removed from the quality control of the multi-billion-dollar manufacturer that is our big auto manufacturing industry.
And on top of that, you'll have, we see this with bumpers a lot. We'll have a manufacturer make a bumper and say, this manufacturer sees the grain in the powder coat isn't quite what they want. Well, that means that first buyer is not going to buy it. But guess what? There's a second buyer right underneath them that don't give a fig about the grain of that powder coat.
Yep.
And that's like that with all aftermarket parts. So there's kind of a butt for every seat. So you may be getting a second, a third, a reject, whatever.
Yeah. Do you want to have your butt sitting in that seat? Do you want to be that buyer?
Yes.
And are you aware enough to do it? It's one thing to buy a cheap bumper because, you know, labor invested and aesthetics appeal. I can put this on and I can put this off.
Yep.
When I take this off, when it comes to specifically like the heater core, there is a tremendous amount of cumbersome labor that is tied up in this process. As Jerry said, all risk, no reward.
Yep.
And, you know, do you want to be taking that risk in that moment with this item?
Yeah.
And there's a number of parts. Maybe we do a podcast on that as far as a number of parts that you can get away with buying the cheap stuff. And here's times when you should save up and do it, you know, buy once, cry once.
Yeah.
As far as the cooling system and the heating system, the heaters, I think that we'd be remiss in the JLJTs to not address. We obviously talked a lot about heaters, but I want to talk about the comforts, you know, of general the JLJTs. We got the cold weather group package for the first time, and we did mention the auto interior. That is, as far as I'm concerned, you know, pretty good in the JLs and JTs. We've not seen mass casualty yet. I don't think they're quite old enough, but I do like the fact that, again, in 18, we are pushing, 8 years or so. We're not seeing, again, we're not seeing market saturation of that auto climate control, but we're also not bad. We also have split climate control. So passenger and driver can have slightly different temperature range based on blending airs and doors.
We also saw more and more with heated seats offered and that kind of stuff in the JK. Again, we had that in hardtop Jeeps for a long time, and it all depends on how old school are you? How much rain are you getting inside your vehicle? We had a really nice option JK. It was basically a hard rock Rubicon before they were hard rocks, and they got caught in the rainstorm, and it really
Wreaked havoc on the interior.
washed out the interior. And they also had gone to a 12-volt shop, so that vehicle was down for months trying to figure out what module was mad and why, and the amount of water we found well after the dry out was just mind-numbing. So I would say if you're going into a vehicle and you're like, hey, I really want my heated seats, I really want this fancy radio, I really want the automatic climate control, maybe that Jeep isn't the best one to get caught in a rainstorm in.
Yeah. Oh, and also be prepared for natural consequences if you are. That the cold weather group does get you the heated steering wheel as well. It's the first Wrangler
With the JL.
with the JL. Yep. As we move into the JL JT, I have been asked on multiple occasion for quotes and ability to retrofit vehicles with heated steering wheels.
Yeah.
That is one of the very limited things that I cannot give you as a Jeep owner.
Is magic.
I authentically am a believer in, like, I think very highly of what we do and the manner in which we do it.
Yep.
And I am wholly convinced that, we can do a broad spectrum of exciting things.
The hot rodder in me wants to, but they have made it electronically so impossible. And the fact that you have to intimately get into your safety systems with the airbag and the clock spring that controls that airbag to get power and that to the steering wheel, they've made it pretty much impossible. In my opinion.
And I've been requested to give customers a heated steering wheel for a little over a decade at this point. Honestly, we're pushing 12 years or so. I remember doing a 15, and he was one of the first ones who was like, I kind of don't care what the budget is. Give me a quality heated steering wheel. And in good consciousness as a business, there is not a viable aftermarket alternative other than your standard 12, your cigarette lighter, 12 volt takeoff heated cover, right? Which, could be fuzzy and look like shag carpet.
Yeah. And you got a cord to deal with.
And you got a cord to deal with, which is not really a thing, and certainly not anything we recommend for safety purposes.
It's kind of, in our opinion, if you really need a heated steering wheel, then you're looking at a JL.
And honestly, you got to just buy the platform. You got to just buy the cold weather equipped package that has the heated steering wheel, because we cannot. It's not the tow kit on the JLs and the JTs. We cannot retrofit this into the system easily.
Well, and I'll do an example because I wasn't able to go back to the horse on this episode.
I almost blew my water across the studio.
It's kind of like if you have a flat fender and you come to us and, hey, I want the heat and air conditioning of a TJ in this flat fender.
Not happening.
It's not happening easily, and it's going to be to a high cost to benefit, and then it's still not going to be as good as a TJ air conditioning was. So if you really need AC, then you have to get into really a TJ. The ACs and the YJs and CJs were a joke. Anyways.
They existed.
They existed, but it was not good. Same way with this. You have to kind of pick your poison or what you would like for your comfort pieces and then pick your platform
From there.
from there. And it's really hard. Yes, I drive a JT, but they have really sorted out a lot of issues with the JLJT. One is example, they are much easier to get the air out of when you do have to get in the cooling system. They're very efficient with that. They also make heat faster than any other Jeep we've ever had. It doesn't take it very long at all to be up to operating temperature and to have heat coming out of the vents. Heated seats have never been as good as they are on that. Seals on the tops and doors have never been as good at that. And if you're like me and just accept that it's a hardtop vehicle and never remove your freedom panels, you don't get wet at all. It's amazing.
If you are driving one of those vehicles, and maybe it's your first foray into the Jeep community and Jeep ownership, and you think that the iconic nature of a CJ to TJ is desirable for a limited daily driving experience or a weekend warrior rig, understand that, as we've preached many, many times, they're light years away from each other.
Yeah.
You're never going to get the efficiency and the creature comforts and the climate control out of one of those older rigs that you do your current platform. All too often we get people who come in and go, maybe this is
quaint.
Yeah, they think it's quaint to own an older, one of those more iconic platforms, and they're going to build it because maybe they're making payments on their newer JLJT, and they don't want to off-road it and pinstripe it like Jeff, immediately did with his and whatnot. So they're going to go out and get this other rig to do it. And while I can fully appreciate one's desire to drive an old piece of clapped out American iron, it is not by any stretch of the imagination going to be, apple to apple to your current current ownership.
Again, being a hot rodder or a street rodder growing up through, you have to pick the vehicle you drive because you enjoy the era it's from. If you love cassette decks and the 80s, early 90s stereo, a YJ is going to treat you right. You're going to expect and have a fun experience. If you want to try to pack all the fun stuff from an 18 into a 91, you're going to have a bad time.
It's going to be very challenging. It's very expensive.
And you're not going to have a good experience at the end of it. And it's going to be this weird vehicle. It's not quite what it was. It's not quite what you tried to make it. You have to get into it and just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, and if you are enjoying it for what it is, then absolutely more power to you. I'm certainly not making fun of any of our customers or anything like that, but we did have somebody recently who purchased a new 2026 and was incredibly disappointed that it does not come with a CD player.
Yep.
In any stretch of his imagination, couldn't believe that it didn't come with a CD player.
They haven't had a CD player in years.
Yes, and that's that's a conversation for the 12-volt and audio world. And as Billy Joe said, good sound systems help you drown out when things go bump and clank on your vehicle.
They do.
But as far as the creature comforts and the heat and the conditioning, we have never been so good as we are now.
And they last really a long time.
And they appear to be pretty, I don't want to say maintenance free, but pretty low maintenance by comparison.
One thing I will kind of say, it's not exactly heater involved, but it is cooling system involved. With JL and JT's, a trend we are seeing is your upper radiator hose at the thermostat neck. It is a couple pieces. Again, Mopar wants to sell you it in its entirety. It has a T in it that goes to your EGR cooler, which I think is part of the secret sauce why it's so easy to get air out of it is some of that plumbing. It likes to work itself off the thermostat neck ever so slightly. I think it's a very slow process. They have constant spring tension clamps, which are good things. Worm clamps are not. I should say that out of that. But it is one of those scenarios where it slowly works its way off. We have had dose times where this has happened. Thankfully, because I saw the first one happen. I kind of was able to save the second. The first one, they were on a long trip, and the hose worked itself off. It started puking coolant pretty good, and they chose to just keep driving. And they then had some motor issues because of overheating the Jeep a lot. On my own personal truck, it was 3/4 of the way off. So a good PSA, go out, look at your vehicle, make sure that upper hose at the thermostat neck is not working itself off.
JLJT owner specifically.
Yep. And you catch it early enough, you can just slide it back on and kind of keep an eye on it. Another thing we have seen is the caps on the, because they are now a closed system. Your overflow bottle is basically part of the system. The caps can get a little weak over time. May not be a bad thing to replace if you're having some issues.
Yeah. Radiator caps in general, JK2JL. Definitely.
Honestly, all of
item.
them.
Yeah. Service item. It was something when we had lower pressure systems that we didn't think as much about. Now caps are a kind of an integral piece.
And again, the time passing that we don't think about TJs are where we saw that start. It went to an 18-pound cap. That's pretty high. And we started seeing failures of them pretty often and really weird stuff. And again, you don't think about the cap being a problem. So you replace everything but the cap and the problem's still there.
Yeah. So something, just your freebie, fun fact there. Take a moment to go back, make sure we said hello to everyone. Mitch Hunt had said hello. Jeannie was talking about her trip to Alaska, and Billy Joe was in there talking about trains on my commentary before, and I couldn't agree more. Matt Miller asked if we were going to the Gettysburg show in August. Yet to be determined. August is shaping up to be very busy. We are already committed to the Toledo Jeep Festival on our schedule, and Smoky Mountain, either by person or proxy. So that will be something that has yet to be determined. But I've heard enough chatter about the Gettysburg event, and of course, I've never turned down an opportunity to go to Gettysburg. Great holy ground of American history. And there's lots of good chatter for folks who are listening at home. This is your PSA to find a Monday where you can jump into the comments and join this cast of characters that makes Mondays exciting. Rob Daddy Jeep continues to chat, and Bill and Jaga Jeepers is in, Billy Joe, and Yvonne says, howdy, I'm late, but good morning to everybody. And thank you for being an important part of our program and the live. And, whether you are listening to this later as a streaming platform, I do want to thank everybody for being involved, because we have yet to actually crest 200 episodes, and yet our streams and our hours listened and our metrics at which you measure the success of podcasting is that of a decade-long podcast, basically.
Yeah, we are very, very blessed and very thankful for all of that. And again, if you see some or think of something that you would like us to talk about and kind of deep dive in, send us a message at
contact, CONTACT, at sfj4x4.com, or our text only number 440-855-2100. That's text only. Don't call that. You can call us. All that information will be listed on our website, sfj4x4.com. We thank you so very, very much for being part of today's program. Until next time, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Oh, I have to click things, folks. I'm still not, I'm still not used to wearing my producer hat.
We're not quite Jeff level yet.
No.
But we are able to bring you a program, which we are thankful for.
That's right. we will adapt and overcome.
Yes.
We did not get to this point by sitting on our hands and making excuses for anything.
And in that theme,
yes,
I've had a driver's side door on my Model T project has been kicking my tail for a while, and I was trying to get look at it from different perspectives. I even hauled the wife out, and I was like, hey, sometimes you look at things differently than I do, and you bring up stuff that you maybe think is kind of trivial. But then I'm like, Eureka, that's why. I was like, here's my problem. The belt line, not really a molding, but the reveal of the body is supposed to line up. 100 years ago, it did.
Okay.
I was trying to figure out why on the passenger side, it just went poop and lined right up nicely. Mm-hmm. On the other side, it was literally the whole reveal low. And the door didn't want to go up into its home. Now, I had, we got a cowl from one car, A-pillars from another car. We got doors from who knows
you got
where.
A mismatch of parts there.
We've had people torching things. I'm pretty sure it's been hit in the driver's side rear quarter a long time ago. We got a lot of bad...
A lot of storytelling. A lot of, your phrase, the Jeep will tell us what it wants.
The car had a lot to say.
There's a lot of car history there. It's got like organ transplants and I've had some people on my Instagram, and they were right. Like, did you shim the body? Did you bolt it down? Yes, I tried all of that. What I finally had to do was basically on these cars, you have your frame, and then on top of that, you have your sub rails, which is your substructure of the body, your cowl, your pillars, all that bolt or rivet to that, kind of how they were designed back then. I had to cut 3/4 of the way through that, take a ratchet strap to the A-pillar up at the windshield, and pull it forward. Then made sure the door worked, and it opened up. We're talking what 1/16 of an inch is normally how much you cut a disc with. This opened up almost 1/4 of an inch, and suddenly the door lined up, and suddenly the door closed. Everything was good, and that was literally the top piece that connects the cowl to the quarter is already in there and was at the proper distance. So not only was I pulling the cowl forward, I was pulling the quarter up as well. It was making that rhombus more of a rectangle. And now everything lines up. And it actually latches. Like, holy crap. I cannot believe how much... And finally, I had to admit to a friend of mine that, like, basically I was scared to cut it, but I had to stop back and think, it's 100 years old. I don't know what it's been through. I don't know exactly how it's been damaged. There's parts from many different things. And some point, you sometimes just have to make things work with each other when you are this kind of invested into a vehicle. Again, the older you go, the more this is going to be. Cars before this 26, you would have to gone in and machine stuff, custom to make it work. You were coach building. It's kind of what I'm doing at this point because I'm making everything work together. And sometimes you have to just get out the saw and cut to make things work. And now I have a door that works. Yay. And I actually... Two doors. You have two doors.
Two doors that work. And I actually started going on like Google Photos and looking at cars like mine and paying attention to that body line and how much it lines up. There's a lot of them the driver's door doesn't line up. So I think this is more common than most, and I'm just sick in the head and refuse when I am this far down the rabbit hole to put out a car that is not the case.
Sure.
So that was my big thing. The other thing I found interesting, I didn't really elaborate on Instagram, but when I put on the front brakes, I was putting the small shoe in the front, large shoe in the back, kind of what you would expect. Someone before me had put the shoes on backwards.
Okay.
So I accidentally put the passenger side backing plate on the driver's side and vice versa. You would think it wouldn't matter, but Ford clocked the wheel cylinder ever so slightly. So if you try to put the wheel cylinder in with the hose pointed back, it will literally run into the kingpin. So I had to take the front brakes all completely apart down to their basic parts. Mm-hmm. I then sandblasted them because I'm there at that point.
Yep, you're doing a thing.
Put new wheel cylinders, new hoses, and reassemble them. the correct way. So again, you don't know what someone else has done before you improperly. Sometimes you have to not accept for what you see as the facts. You need to do some research and go, nope, somebody wasn't paying attention, did things wrong, improperly, and now I need to. And you could keep going forward and keep modifying things. In this situation, it was not a cut method. It was a do research, but sometimes you do have to. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that all too often amongst the DIY community, they run into that brake issue and then they start modifying, and we get further and further and further away from the root cause of what got us in that scenario. And that's the only downside or limitation to the DIY community. Now, I would find myself wholly in that place if you asked me to work on a Honda or, some other platformed vehicle.
And that's why, like on the door situation, I tried shimming it. I tried coaxing it. I tried tweaking hinges. I tried 2 different doors. I tried a lot of things before I cut it. That was last resort. It just happened to be what fixed it. Brakes, nope. There was other reasons to have things not work. And now they all assemble and work like they're supposed to.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and it was cool seeing your updates, and it is looking more and more like a car every day.
Yep. I'm looking forward to that first warm day where I can actually push it outside and get back away from it and see what it looks like. So.
That's very cool. As far as, my weekend is concerned, just in true fashion, trying to do all the things, my own mechanical projects of sorts or
tinkerings.
Continue to tinker on some, junk Jeeps that are in my possession of my own interest and volition. Obviously, you and I played with the backhoe of the Mahindra recently, just kind of exploring that opportunity so we can try and service our parking lot a little bit and make it a little. I know that I always appreciate Jeep owners' mindsets when they come to our shop and they're like, well, it's a Jeep, so it's okay that I went off-roading through your parking lot, I do want to do better,
It's just hard when you're the guy that makes estimates, the guy that answers the phone, the guy that grades the parking lot and orders parts.
Yeah. So we have to put in some extra hours in that process. I spent a good bit of time out at the house build trying to. It's seemingly through the depths of winter, other than when the Angry Turtle Jason has helped me. Seemingly over the last few years of the depths of winter, I take a little bit of a hiatus. I don't really want to, but
it's kind of needed.
It's hard to get out there and get the Caro heaters pumping, the propane heaters, and while the house is small and efficient, it's still there's challenges.
Absolutely. That's why my building is just on pause.
Yeah, so I really have been trying to recently employ some increased efficiency practices within my life of going, hey, this is a 15-minute task, this is a 45-minute task, time blocking succinctly in the sense that I'm going to do this thing, and even if I just accomplish this little piece, I'm going to feel better and I'm going to feel engaged to do more, to be present more in those things. So went out there to the house and we have some motorsports toys and activities for the kids to play. So they enjoyed. We had a decent day on Saturday, I believe. So they had a decent day to get mini bike out and ride around. And I've got some things that are taking shape of a normal life in this house. That if you're unfamiliar, that my wife and I endeavored years ago to build by hand. And it's an arduous process. It's just like you as a vehicle owner. If you endeavor into a full nut bolt restoration, depending on how elaborate it might be, it takes time.
Yeah.
Or a massive chunk of cash.
Yep.
Or if you want the sense of pride and accomplishment that comes with doing it all yourself, I don't possess the knowledge And so therefore
You got to learn as you do it.
I learn as I do, and we screw things up and we have to undo it. And so therefore it just takes more time.
Yep.
It would be so much better if we just paid somebody to take this off our
Be the
plate.
smart way.
That would be the right way to do things, but that is not exactly my wife and my MO. So we continue to muddle through it. But I was out there kind of figuring out what the winter had done to us, and of course she's a voracious gardener, so this is that moment where the crocuses just start to pop up, and we kind of lay that base groundwork for what the springtime, the future will hold. Additionally, those of you on my own social media, you'll know that my children are highly involved in stuff. So this week we had a great opportunity last week, and I talked about our banger of a trip to Michigan. My daughter, at a pretty young age, accepted a 3-week intensive to a dance collective out of state. And so that kind of was a big piece that we're working through. And then I'm on my own pursuits of sports and athletics, with my journey with coaching and my son's experience have kept me very busy on the weekends. So you'll see those updates. And like I said, I'm happy to be friends with you on Facebook. That's definitely my most active platform. I fielded a question for some folks over the weekend. I wish I was better at Instagram. I do none of the talking or the tweeting or the Xing.
No TikToking is right.
Savage runs that for the business for us, and for that I am grateful. I can only handle so much platforms and whatnot. So if you'd like to know more about what's happening in our personal lives, the junk we're working on, or the special interest.
For me, it's Instagram. Facebook, I hold a little bit tighter of reins for personal stuff. Instagram, you get to see all of it. My car escapades. So, 1936 Ford Crazy. Go on there, follow along. Some will get through on Facebook, some won't. It's nothing personal.
Yep.
Just
it's how we create our boundaries and whatnot. But we do encourage, if that's your interest, or if you're listening at home, we're happy to have that relationship with you as part of being part of this community. I think that satisfies us. We've got a ton of Jeeps to work on. It's been Pokemon cards. We're so thankful for the response of the Jeep community, and their expectations of what this coming year will look like and how it relates to SFJ 4x4. So until next time,
Jeep on.
Jeep on.